there, Richard from No Pants Profits here at the parking for Biden's first and only rally of the 2022 midterm season. So I've heard a lot about these Biden rallies, heard that, there's not many people there. So I wanted to go out and I wanted to see how big it is. We're here about 2 hours before it starts, and you can see the parking lot, which you do have to take a bus to, is already quite full, and you'll see, you can see that we're at a Biden rally there. But this is No Pants Profits, and we're going to take a look as close as we can at Biden's only 2022 public midterm rally in the state of Florida. So the parking and the event are at two separate locations. We're not sure how far apart they are, but you can see there's a line to get on a bus to go over to the actual event. All right, so after about 20 minutes in line, 4 buses all came at the same time. I do want to note these are all diesel buses, gas buses, not electric buses, just saying, because a lot of people say that's one of the big accomplishments of the current administration is electric school buses. Just saying. All right, so after about a 10-minute bus ride, we are at the Secret Service entrance to the event at Florida Memorial University. Not a huge crowd to get in through Secret Service. Got the bus for the governor right here, the Democratic candidate for governor, and the Secret Service right in front of us. This is a pretty normal Secret Service screening for events like this, kind of like an airport security, but actually run by the Secret Service, United States Secret Service. All right, so we're here with about 2 hours to go. You can see it's actually pretty filled up. You can see we're pretty close to the stage right there. Very small venue overall. And there's actually a pretty large traditional media set up here, kind of like there would be for any presidential event. And you see traditional media, and you've got some of the local media here as well. They do have free bottles of water at the event, but Secret Service says you cannot have the tops to any of these bottles of water.
The President of the United States. They sent me out here. I told them I'm not the person that lives for this.
Children, they have no plan to get this state or this country back on track. We've been shortchanged. They have shortchanged our public schools. They vote against bills that brings relief to families. And it is clear that they are not looking out for them. They're only looking out for themselves and not for you and I. When we organize, let's go do this.
Who will fight for Florida. 1 week to stand up for women's rights. 1 week to build an economy that works for everybody. And my favorite part about 1 week until we make Ron DeSantis a one-term.
You're going to have Marco Rubio carrying Donald Trump's golf club. In 7 days, Charlie Chris is going back to the governor's family. But folks, I don't know if they're ready for this. In 7 days, Val Demings is going to be in the United States Senate. So, Florida, my question is, are you ready? Are you ready? is once again on the ballot.
I promise it will take less than 3 minutes. I need you to vote! That's it. So you've heard a lot of great messages here, and now to put into action. This is our moment to show up and vote. We need to vote because so much is at stake. Everything is at stake. I voted early yesterday, and I know that it was very fast and quick for me, so you're ready, right? Yeah! So the stakes are super high right now in 2022 because we have been fighting for the issues and causes that are most critical to all of us.
This is our moment, guys. Our destiny moment. Could you feel it? You can hear the tempo in the air. Our destiny moment in 7 days for us to make it happen. In 7 days for us to push and get everybody to the polls. In 7 days for us to deliver Florida for the Democrats.
Do the real work of turning out our friends and family, and we can turn it back. Am I right, Florida? One more time, am I right? We got 7 days, my friends, and we cannot waste a moment. How do we do it? If we want safer communities, we don't elect a guns everywhere governor who promises to unravel our Parkland firearm reforms. Do we? No. We send Charlie Crist to Tallahassee instead. If we don't want an extremist who bullies gay children and teachers leading Florida, we reject that too on November 8th. Instead, we elect a man like Charlie who gets right up in the face, right up in the business of the bullies, just like he
Actually, it's really serious. There's like lots of extremely scary things happening in the political landscape right now. Do you agree? Yes. And this country really needs some help. And guys, hold on one second, everybody. Just hold on a second. Are you sure I'm the right guy for this? Yeah? Am I good? Okay, she says yes. Okay, all right. You know what? I am supposed to be here. And so are all of you supposed to be here. Because sometimes, folks, the Lord works in mysterious ways. Especially, well, that's right. And especially in the political landscape, sometimes I'm like, Lord, what are we doing? We're testing our faith here, baby. But God is good.
All the time.
Thank you. And here's the thing, I've heard that there is always a bigger picture that makes it all make sense. And I'm really hoping that is what is happening right now. Because I mean, ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Think about all the things that had to happen for you to be here right now. Think of all, right, I mean, like right here, in this town, in this room, tonight, right here. All of the decisions that you had to make or not make that brought you here today. And I believe that you're all here for a really good reason. You are here because you matter. You are here because you can affect positive change in the world. You have the ability to change the future of the world we're living in right now. Your choices now and the decisions that you make next week can affect millions of people and even save lives. Rights for folks who need access to affordable health care. Let's get out, is anybody who has a body. Rights for people who should be supported even if they grew up in a family that is a different religion than yours. And rights for, this one gets me now. Rights for women to have control over their own bodies. Their own bodies. I don't understand. Folks, it hurts. I mean, folks, how is it 2022 and these things are still out there? God damn it. Now, you all know Val's platform. I came down here from Hollywood to cuss y'all out. Just like I cussed out Tupac Shakur. How many of y'all know that movie with Janet Jackson? I told Tupac, boy, shut up and put the cigarette out. But I didn't say it like that. Now, guys, listen to me. Honey, you got to be quiet. I can hear you, but I got this speech to make. And this speech is gonna go around the world. All the weak men. Before you lie to us, remember Rosa sat on that bus. Before you tell
Remember Mandela sat in that jail. Before you do anything, you remember Dr. King. Before you cheat and steal, I dare you to Google M&T.
Hello, Miami-Dade. Are you excited to hear from President Joe Biden? Are you ready to elect Val Demings to the United States Senate? Are you ready to defeat Ron DeSantis? I'm feeling ready. Everybody needs to vote. Everybody. Can you say vote? One more time. I want to hear you say it. Listen, we're the final spread. You got it right. The stakes could not be higher for Florida. The stakes could not be higher for America. Florida's future is on the ballot. Our fundamental freedoms are on the ballot. And my friends, a woman's right to choose is on the backbone of my administration. I will sign an executive order that will protect a woman's right to choose. When I was your governor, I made it easier to vote. DeSantis has made it harder to vote. He even created his own election police and arrested Floridians. You can't make this up. And arrested Floridians who are allowed to register by his own administration. It's unbelievable. It's about intimidation. It's about not supporting democracy. And that's who he is.
Today, are we ready to win? Are we ready to win? Guess what, Florida? I am sharing the stage tonight with the President of the United States. Doctors and supports a constitutional amendment to take away a woman's right to choose. I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And right now, he's supporting a federal abortion ban. But let me tell you this. Marco Rubio's new federal abortion ban is just the beginning. He wants to ban abortions with no exceptions for rape and incest. Now I stand before you tonight as someone who investigated cases of rape and incest. Matter of fact, a lot of rapists are behind bars right now because of my 27 years. Well, Senator Rubio, I have a message for you. Rape is a crime. Incest is a crime. Abortion is not. I refuse to allow my 4 granddaughters to grow up in a country where they have fewer rights than I have. That my parents believed in, that I believe in, that I know you believe in. We are going to win!
elected the next governor. And with your help, I will be elected the next United States
Republicans seek to erase all the progress made not only by this president, but by all preceding generations of Americans who fought, sacrificed, bled, and died for all the freedoms, rights, and benefits we hold dear. They have already taken away a women's right to choose, and they will not stop there. They want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and roll back the protections safeguarding our citizens.
Thank you very much, Coach Margarina. Thanks for that introduction. It's great to be at Florida Memorial University, one of the nation's great HBCUs. I'm a big fan of HBCUs. I got my start at one of those other HBCUs, Delaware State University. Okay, that's pretty good, man. Anyway. Anyway, look, you know, talking to the students about my administration's plan to provide student loan relief for working middle-class folks. Talking about my historic commitment to HBCUs that include $5.8 billion in investment in HBCUs. Let me tell you, one of the great ways to honor HBCU's legacy is to vote by helicopter. The damage and destruction was historic and horrific. It was almost unimaginable. And I said then, it's going to take not weeks and months, but years to fully recover and rebuild. But I gave the people of Florida my commitment to this country's commitment that you will not go through this alone. We ain't going home. My administration has been following through on those commitments to get the people of Florida what they need as fast as we can and help them rebuild. So far, $1.7 billion in assistance has gone to this state. We've set up 23 disaster recovery centers where survivors can register for help, and FEMA has performed over 180,000 home inspections. The U.S. Small Business Administration has approved another $460 million for low-interest loans to business owners, renters, and homeowners. And like I said, this is just the beginning of our effort. We haven't seen nothing yet. Oh man, we got a hell of a delegation. Folks, We need to elect Charlie and Val. We need to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, including your outstanding members of Congress, Debbie and Frederica and Sheila. If we do that, Florida's not going to be only a better place, so will America be. Look, on a very serious note, that's why we're all here. That's why we're all here. 7 days. 7 days until the most important election of our lifetime. You've heard me say it before, we're at an inflection point in history. It comes about every 5 or 6 generations. So much has changed in America and around the world that the decisions we make, the decisions you make over the next 2 to 3 years are going to determine the fate of this country, not a joke, for the next decade to 2 decades. There's a lot at stake, but so much opportunity. Put the paper down, I'm not coming and getting it. Okay? All right, just hold up a paper for you. He wants to send me a letter here. Well, look, let's be real clear about one important thing. This election is not a referendum. It's a choice. It's a choice between two vastly different visions for America. I've said from the beginning that my objective when I ran was to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out. An economy that rewards work, not just wealth. An economy that works for everybody. So poor folks have a chance, middle class does better, and if they do that, the wealthy will still do very well. It's a fundamental shift in work. That's what's working now. Compared to the mega MAGA, I call them trickle-down economics the Republicans offer these days. Folks, this ain't your father's Republican Party. This is a different breed of cat. Just look at the facts. When I took office, the economy was in ruins. This is not because of me, it's because of what I inherited. My predecessor was the first president since Herbert Hoover to lose jobs. He had fewer jobs when he left office than when he came to office. Last president that happened to was literally Herbert Hoover. And look, here's the deal. Unemployment was at 6.4%. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses had gone out of business, closed, bankrupt. But today we're in a better place. 10 million jobs created since they took office. And over 700,000 manufacturing jobs. Where is it written that we can't be the manufacturing capital of the world? I mean it. Think about it. Unemployment is down from 6.5 to 3.5%, the lowest in 50 years. Black, Latino, and Asian communities, unemployment is way down. 5.4 million Americans applied to start new businesses just since I've been on. 5.4 million, the highest ever in American history. Look, Putin's invasion of Ukraine sent gas prices soaring around the world. But because of the actions we've taken, gas prices are coming down here at home. They're down $1.25. I just passed the gas station on the way. $3.25 when it was $5 when I took off this summer. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. It's a difficult time. Americans across the country have stepped up and are doing the right thing. But not everyone. The oil industry is not doing the right thing. They haven't met their commitment to invest in America and support the American people. One by one, major oil companies have reported their profits for the last 2 quarters. I mean, profits so high, it's hard to believe. Last week, Shell Oil announced that it made $9.5 billion in profit in 3 months. The 3rd quarter. 9.5. That's almost twice as much as they made the 3rd quarter of last year. Exxon's 3rd quarter profits were $18.7 billion. Nearly triple what Exxon made last year. The most it's made in its entire 152-year history. In the last 6 months, while the rest of the country is going through hell, 6 of the largest oil companies made more than $100 billion in profits. $100 billion in less than 200 days. It's outrageous. These companies are taking the average profits they've been making by refining oil over the last 20 years. If they were doing that instead of the outrageous profits they're making today, they could pass on the rest of the consumers. The price of gas would be down another 50 cents. They're the facts. Instead, they're buying back their own stock because that's how the CEOs get paid. They're giving the profits to shareholders, and outrageous profits, and the windfalls of war. Yesterday, I made it clear the industry has a choice. Either begin to invest in America or pay higher taxes on your excessive profits and face other restrictions. You know, it's amazing. Even though my Republican friends in Congress seem to be hoping for a recession, the last week's GDP report came out. You know what it shows? The economy is in fact growing. In fact, the economy grew 2.6% last quarter. And although it may not feel that way, people's incomes went up the last quarter more than inflation. Economic growth is up. Price inflation is down. Real incomes are up. And gas prices are down. But here's the most important thing to me. Exports. What we make and export from America are up. Meaning we're making things again here in America. Today we're shipping products overseas instead of shipping junk overseas, like we've been doing for much too long. We got it. There's nothing we can't do. And here's another thing. My predecessor, he promised to have an infrastructure week. For 4 years he promised infrastructure. It became a laugh line. Well, guess what? We're creating infrastructure decade. We're going to build America the way it should be built. Create once-in-a-generation investments in our nation's roads, highways, bridges, railroads, ports, airports, water systems, high-speed internet. And by the way, that includes a $16 million grant to the Port of Miami, which I'm sure your governor will take credit for somewhere along the line. To expand and upgrade its rail and cargo gates to make the port more efficient. Val Demings voted for it. Her opponent voted against it. The American people are beginning to see the benefits of an economy that works for them. Families have more net worth than they did before the pandemic. Fewer families are behind in their mortgages, their credit card bills, and before the pandemic. And importantly, more Americans have health insurance than before the pandemic. And you know, we pay the highest prescription drug prices of any country in the world. Same manufacturer, same drug. You buy it in Miami, and you buy it in Paris, and it costs considerably less if you buy it in Paris. By the same exact drug, the same manufacturer. And ladies and gentlemen, so without a single Republican vote in Congress, guess what? We Democrats took on and beat Big Pharma. For the first time in a track for a year, we beat them. We flat beat Big Pharma. They spent millions of dollars trying to prevent it. I'm serious. I've been fighting these guys for a long time, man. Finally. With every single Democrat vote, and by the way, you know what one of the results is? We're capping out-of-pocket costs for prescriptions for seniors to $2,000 a year. Guess what? No matter whether they're paying $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a year as they are for some cancer drugs, they're not going to have to pay a single penny more than $2,000 a year. Period. And by the way, one more thing. If Big Pharma continues to raise drug prices faster than inflation, guess what? They're going to have to write a check to Medicare to cover the difference. No, that's the law. That's the law. By the way, last year, Big Pharma raised the price of 1,200 drugs they manufactured faster than the rate of inflation, and they didn't do a damn thing to make the product better. Same exact product. We're going to put a stop to that, I promise you. One more significant change we just made. We're capping the cost of insulin for seniors on Medicare. You know how much it costs to make that insulin? the guy who invented it didn't patent it because he wanted it available for everybody. It cost $10 to produce it. And you know what the average price they're paying for it? $400. Well, guess what? They can't pay any more than, they can't get any more than $35 now. They make a good profit, no more. Instead of paying $400 a month. Folks, this could be a lifesaver for people. And I'm going back to make sure it's $35 a month for not just people on Medicare, but for every single American. I promise you, not a joke. I'm going to give more than hell. And on top of these actions, earlier this month, we lowered the cost of hearing aids. You know what? We made them available over the counter. Places like Walgreens or Walmart. Saving $3,000 a pair. Hear me? For millions of Americans with hearing loss. If I don't stop talking so loud, you're all going to have hearing loss. On top of that, I'm going to do away with hidden, unfair fees known as junk fees. Like surprise, banking overdraft. You overdraft and you get another bill for $35. No more. Excessive credit card rate fees you didn't know about at $50. No more. And the Department of Transportation is working on rules to require airlines and travel sites to disclose all their fees up front. So when you're booking travel for the holidays, you know what extra amount you're going to have to pay for things like sitting next to your kid, or checking the bag, or changing your ticket, or even if you can change your ticket without additional cost. Folks, these add up. These are big numbers for people, and they don't know it's even coming. While Republicans want to pass tax breaks for the wealthy in corporate America, we're passing tax credits to help the American people weatherize their homes. For real. To buy energy-efficient appliances, get a tax credit. Put solar panels on your home. Help you buy an electric vehicle. Weatherize your home. Things that they say will save the average family another $500 a year. And help save the environment. And one of these things I promised to do, because I understand the high cost of college, I took action to ease the burden of student debt for millions of working middle class Americans. Over 90% who earn less than 75 grand, they're now giving up $20,000 relief on student debt. 10 for most folks, another 10 to get a Pell Grant. It's a game changer. I had the bar to get to college, and I worked through college like my sons and daughters did. What have Republicans done about this? Well, guess what? They moaned and groaned about it. And they challenged it in court, which they're going to lose. And I'm not going to apologize for 1 second for helping working middle-class families recover and reduce their student debt so we can be efficient to buy a home, start a business, and so much more. And by the way, the reason you don't do this, but take a look at who's complaining. The same Republican officials who voted for the unpaid $2 trillion tax giveaway that mainly benefited wealthy Americans and the biggest corporations. I don't want to hear it from angry Republicans who sit in Congress. And by the way, those same folks who are complaining in Congress, they had hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars in the pandemic relief forgiveness loans, but they took it. They didn't attack it. Working middle-class Americans and student debt relief. For example, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Guess what? She took $180,000 in business loan forgiveness. One of your congressmen right here in Florida, Vern Buchanan, said, our plan was reckless. Guess how much he got? $2.3 million for losses. Now look, how in the heck can they complain about that? We're trying to give students a break to be able to get out from under college debt. Look, folks, who in the hell do they think they are? By the way, I already heard from my colleagues today how Republicans want to make permanent the Dobbs decision, denying a woman the right to choose. The Well, I got news for you. We're going to elect a couple more U.S. senators and Democrats. Yeah! And we're going to codify Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose. And by the way, if somehow they were able to pass this, I will veto it. Yeah! You know, you can hear from Republicans, my God, that big spending Democrat Biden, man, he's taking us in debt. Well, guess what? I reduced the federal deficit this year by $1 trillion. $1 trillion, the most in all American history. No one's ever reduced the debt that much. We cut the federal debt in half. And by the way, last year, I reduced the deficit by $350 billion. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. We're going to go further, reduce the deficit over the next decade by another $250 billion. A big part of that is because corporations are finally having to pay a minimum tax. Oh, and we're hurting them. 15%. You pay more than 15%. But guess what? One more thing. On our watch, for the first time in 10 years, seniors are getting the biggest increase in Social Security checks. The checks are going to go up, and the Medicare premiums are going to go down at the same time. And I promise you, I'll protect Social Security. I'll protect Medicare. I'll protect you. Is in stark contrast to the state of Republican agenda. They're all after what Charlie and Val, but their opponents are just the exact opposite of what they're for. And by the way, if I can note for just a second, I made a promise to you that I'd make my administration and the cabinet look like America. I have more African Americans, more Hispanic Americans, more women than men, more women than men. She's on the Supreme Court. And she's smarter than the rest of them. Look, I have appointed more black women to the appeals court. Now, hear me out. More black women to the appeals court and the federal courts than every other president combined in American history. About time. Folks, across the board, for Hispanic Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, look, we have to have, and I've been arguing this for a long time, we have to have my administration and this government look like America. Look like America. That's why we're so strong. That's why we're who we are. And folks, by the way, I might note parenthetically, more valedictorians in the major universities in America are women than men. That's a little thing. I went to the same university as my sister. I graduated. She graduated honors, you know? Well, you think I'm kidding, I'm not. Look, folks, Kevin McCarthy, he's the leader of the Republicans in the House of Representatives. Okay? The Republicans have, they're saying it out loud now. They're saying what they want to do. Thank God for small favors. And here's what they say. He says their number one priority is to do the following. Deny Medicare the right to negotiate drug prices. I'm serious. He wants to give the power back to Big Pharma so they can continue to rip us off the prescription drug prices. He wants to end the cap on prescription drug costs at $2,000 on Medicare. Gone. $35 a month cap on insulin for seniors, gone. Savings on health care premiums of $800 for millions of Americans on the Affordable Care Act, gone. And of course, they're still determined to repeal the Affordable Care Act overall, which means that anyone with a pre-existing condition would lose any access to health care. Folks, these protections are gone as well if the Republicans get their way. And look, tax credits for lower energy bills, gone. And the corporate minimum tax of 15% I signed into law, gone. Under the Republican plan, many of the biggest corporations will go back to paying zero taxes. I think I'm making this up. It's a fact. In 2020, 55 of the Fortune 500 largest corporations made $40 billion in profit, and they paid zero in federal tax. That's their plan. It's reckless, it's irresponsible, it will make inflation worse. It will badly hurt working class and middle class Americans. But that's not all. They're coming after your Social Security and Medicare. And they're saying it out loud. Your great Senator Rick Scott here in Florida. He's in charge of electing Republicans in the Senate. He laid out their plan clearly. He put Social Security and Medicare on the chopping block every 5 years. Which means, listen closely to this, because it's deadly earnest. It means every 5 years, Congress will vote to cut, reduce, or completely eliminate Social Security or Medicare. If they do nothing, it goes out of existence. Not a joke. Then along came Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, Senator. He wants to do Scott one better. The argument among the Republicans is, should it be every 5 years or every single year? He thinks waiting 5 years is too long. He thinks Social Security and Medicare should be in the chopping block every single year. If Congress doesn't vote to keep it, the program goes away. This is not a joke. It's not just Social Security and Medicare. He wants to put veterans benefits, everything in the federal budget on the line. You know, to digress just a second, I lost my son not long ago. He was the Attorney General. He was a major in the United States Army, won the Bronze Star, Conspicuous Service Medal. Because his hooch where he lived in Baghdad was next to a burn pit. Just like those folks at 9/11, you know, that were exposed to all that toxic stuff. Well, guess what? They burned everything in those burn pits, from oil to human feces to and everything. And he breathed that in for a year, and he died. More people are coming home with brain cancer, glioblastoma, was a death sentence. He made it for 19 months when he got home, but that was it. And guess what? We had a thing that was to make sure I made a commitment in my State of the Union that we take care of our veterans. Yeah. And only truly, by the way, we have a lot of obligations. There's the only truly sacred obligation we have. To equip those who send the war, care for them and their families when they come home. And guess what? We're going to fight like hell to get it passed. Now all Republicans voted for. It provided for health care for those veterans who are going through it, just like Agent Orange. And it also said those who died, their families could get financial help for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're doing. And now they're saying, these guys, they're saying they're not going to cooperate. They're not going to cooperate. If I don't agree to cut Social Security, Medicare, and other things, they're going to shut down the government, they say. At the end of the year, I know this is complicated stuff, but at the end of the year, every year, we have obligations and debt around the world. And we've never missed a payment, never once, not once. If we did, it would send the economy into a tailspin and a gigantic recession. Never once in all our history. You know what they're telling me? Unless I vote to reduce the benefits of Medicare and Social Security, they're going to threaten to take the country bankrupt. No, think about that. I mean, just think how totally irresponsible this is. The last time that happened, remember, McConnell tried to do it when Barack was president, I was vice president. I had negotiated with him until late New Year's Eve day, late that day, before we got to a place where he finally gave in, and we didn't renege on the debt. But guess what happened? We came so close. Remember, they reduced our standing, they reduced our credit standing in the world, and we had real problems. Even just the threat makes the rest of the world look at us like, what in God's name is that country doing? No, for real. You got 350 so election deniers on the ballot on the Republican ticket. No, this is really deadly earnest, man. Democracy is on the ballot this year, along with your right to choose and the right to privacy. The bottom line is this. If Republicans gain control of the Congress and pass a nationwide ban on abortion, I'll veto it. But if Alabamians and more Senate Democrats get elected to keep control of the Senate and the House, we're going to codify Roe v. Wade in January. Making the law of the land. Look, let me close with this. You've been a very patient audience, especially standing there all this time. It's been a rough 4 or 5 years for hard-working Americans. For a lot of families, things are still tough. When things like this happened when I was growing up, we weren't poor. My dad, his greatest regret, he didn't have a college education. But he was a sophisticated man who read well, and he was really informed. But we lived in a 3-bedroom home with a split-level home and a new development with 4 kids and a grandpa and mom and dad. So it wasn't, but when prices went up, it affected us. We had discussions at the kitchen table. I mean, for real. We weren't poor, but we knew what it was like. By the way, I was talking with one of my colleagues here today, and when they came out, I got a phone call from my wife, and she was up trying to help Patrick Leahy way back years ago, campaigning. Or I was up doing that call for her, and she's a teacher. So I called her early in the morning, like when your husbands and wives are away, you call your family. And I called and said, how things going? She said, fine. It was something. She said, did you read today's paper? And I said, we don't get the Wilmington News Journal up here in Burlington, Vermont. She said, headline, top of the fold, Biden, poorest man in Congress. Is that true? I don't know what the hell, but I was all those years, but I had a good salary. I was still making more than most people because I had a senator's salary. I didn't think you were supposed to make money when you're in the Senate. I thought you were just supposed to take a salary. So like many of you, I come from a normal middle-class family. And guess what? We know what it's like when hard times hit. We get it. We get it. And right now, think about it. Look what we're doing on education for our kids. One of the reasons I came up with that $5.6 billion for HBCUs is we got to make sure they have the same laboratories, the same research capacity as everybody else has. Because they can do anything anybody else can do, because we're asserting itself. We've made enormous progress in just 20 months. We have so much more to do. Everything is at stake in just 7 days, God willing, for the state and this country that we love. So I call on Democrats and mainstream Republicans and independents to come together. We can meet the moment together. I truly believe we're just getting started. I've never been more optimistic about America's future than today. And just remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity. So vote. Get out the vote and win. Vote, vote, vote. May God bless you. May God protect our troops. God love you all. I mean it. Let's go. Let's do it. No excuses. Thank you.
the Biden rally. Again, this was Biden's first rally to push for the midterm elections in Florida, likely first and last public rally. He's only been in the state of Florida during his presidency 3 times, this being the third. The first time was for the Surfside building collapse. The second time was for the hurricane that happened about a month ago. And the third time was literally right now. I will tell you that Biden was a lot more fluid. He was off of the teleprompter and things like that. A lot more than I really expected. I'll tell you, it was actually quite a good performance overall compared to some of the things I've seen on TV. This is my first time ever seeing Biden live, but compared to what I've seen on TV a lot of the times, hey, I was impressed with how there and in the moment he was able to go off the teleprompter and everything like that. Now, like I said, Biden's only been in the state of Florida for natural disasters before, but there might be a natural disaster coming. There may be a red tsunami coming to the state of Florida and the entire country. Nobody really knows, but this is Richard from No Pants Profits right after the Biden Get Out the Vote rally, his only public rally in the state of Florida for the Florida midterm elections. And I want to remind you, when you're wearing no pants, all you got left to lose is your shirt. If you want to see more of this content, comment below. Have a great one. Bye.